After 54 long days, the Penn State Nittany Lions have hired a head coach, and whomst amongst us could ever have seen it coming? But Matt Campbell is the new head coach at Penn State. I have to be an incredibly big man right now. And for those of you who are listening, I have my eyes closed because this is where I get myself in a safe mental space where I don't say the words "I told you so." Because the last thing we want to do on this show, the last thing we want to do is beat people over the head with "I told you so." But I'll tell you what I felt like I just watched. I feel like I just watched Penn State go all the way around the world to find treasure in their backyard. This should have been the first call they made. They weren't getting Freeman. They weren't getting DeBoer. None of those Grand Slam, like unicorn candidates were going to be available. That should have always been evident. Mike Elko, they were not close on him. I am just telling you from firsthand knowledge that was not happening. But Matt Campbell could have happened. And you could have saved yourself potentially a recruiting class. And you could have saved yourself a lot of heartache. Anyway, Matt Campbell finally happened. There are two perspectives on this, and they're just fascinating. Because I have banged the drum for Matt Campbell on this show as the best candidate for Penn State since they fired James Franklin. The first night after they fired Franklin, we came on the air and I said, Matt Campbell ought to be the one you target. So that's why I'm speaking the way I'm speaking. Football people will universally praise Matt Campbell. You will never find a football guy who speaks ill of him. They all universally respect him. The NFL heavily respects him. He has turned down NFL head coaching jobs in the last 5 years. So they think sky high of him. His peers think the world of him. Nobody who pushed back on the concept of Matt Campbell getting the Penn State job ever gave me football-related reasoning. Or if they did, it was very ignorant and it was short-sighted. And it was like, well, he hasn't even won the Big 12. In college football, it is not the NFL. You don't all work on the same platform. In the NFL, everyone plays by the same rules. Everyone's allowed the same draft picks. Everyone's working on a salary cap. None of that exists in college football. So if you're the head coach at Texas and you're the head coach at Iowa State, you live in two different worlds. You have two totally different existences. So Matt Campbell, in the 130-some-odd year history of Iowa State, is in the midst right now of the best 3-year stretch they've ever had. They just won 8 games. You win 8 games at Florida, and they don't like it. You win 8 games at Alabama, that's cause for concern. You win 8 games at Iowa State, it's one of the best seasons they've ever had. And he just did that on the heels of going to the Big 10 or Big 12 championship game last year. So people who said, oh man, he hadn't won big games, you have no clue what you're talking about. Relative to expectation and relative to resource, he crushed it at Iowa State. So no one brought any football-related counter-arguments to the table, because there really are none. Here's what a lot of people said. They didn't trust their own instinct. They blindly trusted rumors or perceptions of other instincts when they said, well, if he's so great, if Matt Campbell's so great, how come he hadn't gotten job offers before? And I bit my tongue as long as I could, and then I couldn't take it anymore. And I told you on the show a couple of weeks ago, they have. They've come his way. Tennessee came his way. Florida State came his way. The Detroit Lions came his way. USC was at the 11th hour a few years ago. A lot of jobs came his way. That's not an exhaustive list, by the way. Those are just some that have sort of quasi-leaked out there and I'm comfortable talking about. He didn't leave because he didn't want to leave. And you may think to yourself, that's crazy. Iowa State? Oh, you get on the first thing smoking out of Iowa State. Well, maybe if you were the head coach there, you would. But he's not like everyone else. So we went up there last spring because I kind of wanted him to talk on the record about this, and he did, and I think you'll be fascinated to listen to this. This is a little glimpse into why Matt Campbell didn't just move at the first opportunity. Roll it, Bradley.
Short of like internet rumors, there's never been really serious traction to you not being here. So could you walk people through as much as you can the thought process you have when you have opportunities?
You know, I've been that guy where it's like, geez, should I be climbing this ladder of job to job at a really young age to when we got to Iowa State and have been able to build something different. And I know, for me, leaving the University of Toledo was really hard, to be quite honest. From Ohio, my wife and I had never left Ohio at that time, 3 kids with a 4th on the way. We had grandparents and family that were, anchors to us, and it was really hard to leave. And, that was the first time I said, geez, I don't know if this is what I want to do. I want to be able to lay roots and build something different and something that's really special that can stand for something. And, I think that's the one gratitude that I have for being the head coach. I walk in here every day and I'm just beyond grateful to be the head football coach at Iowa State. And, we've been able to build a program that I really believe stands for something.
Savannah State heavily critical of my sitting posture there. It is what it is. I know no other way. Let me tell you why I think he's a perfect fit there. He's dead serious about that Toledo stuff. Hey, guys, do me one favor. Check and see if you're subscribed to the channel. If you are, great. If you're not, it's that easy. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't sign you up for anything. It just helps us do the show this way forever. All right, back to the clip. Matt Campbell came very close to just not leaving Toledo for Iowa State. Okay, that's how dug in he was at Toledo. And then he got to Iowa State and thought to himself, I'm not leaving here. A lot of guys talk like that and give it lip service. I don't know how else to tell you. He's just telling you the truth. Other people are lying to you. He's telling you the truth there. And so it took a lot to peel him out of there. Penn State was able to do it. So the first thing that I would take comfort in if I'm a Penn State fan, one of the first things I would take comfort in is knowing that guy's not going anywhere. It was so hard to get him out of there that he's ours. The only risk you would run is, do NFL teams come calling? Like, that's all I would worry about. He's one of the best culture builders in college football. Anyone who's been around it, anyone who's played against it will attest to it. He's got sort of a magnetic quality, and his programs take on this magnetic quality, which is really important because, contrary to popular belief, this thing's still about relationship building. I was talking to Courtney Morgan at Alabama last night, and I was talking about like philosophy and recruiting and about the misnomer that, it's just about paying the most for players now. And all the good general managers or all the head coaches will laugh at that. It's not about that. It's true that you could go overspend and just go assemble a bunch of talent. If you didn't build the relationship, firstly, you probably had to overpay to get the talent if you didn't build the relationship. And then secondly, they're not going to go over the cliff for you. There were a few very glaring examples, by the way, late in the season of teams that had, for lack of a better term, hired a bunch of players and the players quit on them. So what all the talent matter to you? That is not a characteristic of a Matt Campbell organization. Not only that, but because of the magnetic nature of the program, you'll find that guys take a discount to play for you, and guys will accept, in some cases, less to stay with you. I can promise you that was the case with him at Iowa State. Now he goes to a place where you'll still have all of those qualities. They will place a premium on evaluation and development. He's bringing his general manager, Derek Hooger, with him, one of the best in the business. So they'll still be good. They'll still be plus to A+ in all those categories. Now they've got big money to spend. Penn State will equip them to where they can be very competitive in the NIL market, and so you can attract a wider net. You can cast a wider net, and you can catch bigger fish in that net. They're still going to run them through the same filter that they would have run them through at Iowa State, or they're not going to play at Penn State. He is a grinder, very blue-collar mentality. It's why I always felt like his personality would be a puzzle piece fit at like 3 or 4 big programs, and this is one of them. So he won't have to get up there and pretend he has it. You know, like you guys at Penn State, you know what fits at Penn State. Some people have to pretend that they fit at Penn State. He won't have to pretend. I did want to address this, though. Okay, so I'm a big Iowa State fan. People think I'm lying about that, but I'm not. So I'm a huge Matt Campbell fan, too. Truthfully, I probably become bigger fans of coaches than programs, but I am a big Iowa State fan. Have been since I was a kid, so I got a lot of heat for how I handled this. All right, so I do want to address that because I do acknowledge it's probably a really bad look because it looked like I was trying to convince the market to like remove Iowa State's head coach. It wasn't that, but I grant that if you thought it felt that way, my bad, because that's the last thing I want to do to Iowa State. What I felt is there was a guy at Iowa State and had been for a while that was fully capable of taking over a top 10, top 15 job and winning. And I thought Matt Campbell was that, and maybe it's selfish, I wanted to see him take a shot. Having said that, the very next thing that happened was this news broke as I was live on stage the other night doing our live show. So I was kind of having fun with the live crowd, and I put that edit out of me and him walking down a hallway, and he's got a Penn State logo on his chest. Bad optics. Sorry about that. I grant you that. So took some heat for that. It was deserved. That's the last thing I want to do. So now, pull for Matt Campbell at Penn State. We're going to go up there tomorrow. We'll be there for the introductory press conference. Just someone tell Sean Fitz to get our room ready. Now we regroup, and now we get behind the new staff at Iowa State. And by the way, Jamie Pollard's the AD there. Just textbook clinic put on in how to be classy when what was probably an inevitability finally happens. Maybe they didn't feel like it was an inevitability, but when you're Iowa State and you got big programs that continuously come calling for your guy, eventually he may leave. He was there a decade. And so when he leaves, what do? Do you trash him on his way out the door? Do you put on this entire spectacle like we saw with Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss? No. You thank him, and then you have the next hire ready to go, and boom, it's done. So, yes, I could have handled that optics-wise a lot better from the Iowa State side. So I do want to acknowledge that, because it's not like I was just faking like an Iowa State. I'll be right back there in the foxhole next year. I will just also pull for Matt Campbell at Penn State.